Laozi was born into a royal family in the 6th century BC, in a time when China was a patchwork of warring states. But unlike his noble contemporaries, Laozi didn't care about chariots or concubines or conquests. He wanted to understand the true nature of reality. So he studied under the sages of his day, learning everything they knew. And then one day he walked out of town and never came back. Some say Laozi was over 200 years old when he finally got fed up with people's pointless squabbling and their obliviousness to the natural order of the cosmos. He decided to write down his thoughts, the essence of what he'd learned over decades of study and reflection. And so he wrote the Tao Te Ching. This book has been called the most influential philosophical work in history for a reason. It changed the course of thousands of years of Chinese thought, giving rise to schools of philosophy, religions, and spiritual practices. And Laozi's wisdom doesn't belong to any particular time or place. Today, we're going to explore the first chapter of the Tao Te Ching, which introduces us to the mysterious concept of the Tao. Before laws, before empires, before there were human beings and societies, before time even began, there was the Tao. The Tao is the nameless current that gave birth to all things. It's the source from which everything flows. It's the field of potentiality from which everything actualizes. The Tao is the ground of being, the mother of life. Some translations render the Tao as the way, which emphasizes its role as a path or a road. Others translate it as the path, which brings out the idea of an unfolding process. Ultimately, though, any translation will fail to capture the richness and depth of the original Chinese characters. Laozi tells us that the Tao is beyond human language and understanding. Our conceptual categories simply can't contain it. So how do we begin to grasp this indescribable reality? Well, Laozi gives us a few hints. He tells us that the Tao is the source of heaven and earth, the parent of all things. Everything in the universe is interconnected and interdependent. We're all part of a great web of life. The Tao is also described as a dynamic force, a flowing river that moves through all things. Nothing is static or unchanging. Everything is in constant flux and transformation. The Tao is also characterized as a unifying principle, a balance between opposing forces like yin and yang, hard and soft, fast and slow. The Tao is the harmony that emerges from this interplay of opposites. But the Tao isn't just some abstract metaphysical concept. It has very real implications for our lives. Laozi says that those who walk the Tao are like a midwife helping new life into the world. They don't try to control or manipulate things, but rather they assist and support the natural flow of reality. They go with the flow, so to speak. The Taoist sage doesn't cling to outcomes or worry about the future. They trust in the inherent orderliness of the universe. They know that everything will work out in the end because everything is working together toward an ever greater harmony. Being connected to the Tao isn't just a matter of trusting in the universe, though. It also involves taking responsibility for our actions and living in harmony with the natural world. Laozi says that those who walk the Tao practice non-resistance, but that doesn't mean they're passive. They don't fight against the current. Instead, they swim with it. They identify problems and try to solve them by changing themselves rather than trying to change the world. One way this might look in practice is in our relationships. Imagine you're in a relationship that's become stale and unfulfilling. A typical reaction might be to blame the other person for not meeting our needs or for not changing. But if we approach the situation with a Taoist mindset, we'd recognize that the only person we can actually change is ourselves. Maybe we need to adjust our expectations or adjust our own behavior. Instead of fighting for our own way in a relationship, we can learn to let go and flow with our partner. Here's another example. Imagine you're planning a project at work and you hit a snag. You can't find the right people for the job, or the resources are not available, or the timeline seems too tight. Normally, we might feel frustrated or anxious, or even angry. We start to blame others or circumstances for our inability to control the situation. But what if we applied a Taoist perspective? What if we stopped fighting the problem and instead tried to understand it? When we stop resisting and start flowing with the problem, we open ourselves up to new possibilities. Maybe there is a different way to approach the project, or maybe we need to adjust our goals, or maybe we need to rest and come back to the problem with fresh eyes. The point is that when we try to force things to happen, we close ourselves off to the wisdom of the Tao. But when we relax and let go, we allow the universe to guide us toward the best possible outcome. Of course, this isn't always easy to do. In fact, it takes a lifetime to learn how to flow with the Tao, but the rewards are immeasurable. When we live in harmony with the natural order of reality, we experience deep peace, contentment, and joy. The Tao Te Ching is full of stories and metaphors that illustrate this way of life. Laozi talks about the importance of simplicity, humility, and compassion. He encourages us to embrace the natural world and to live in accordance with its rhythms. For instance, Laozi says that the highest good is like water. Water nourishes all things without trying to possess them. It flows around obstacles rather than breaking against them. This is a beautiful metaphor for how we should approach life. Like water, we should be flexible and adaptable. We should be able to go with the flow and not resist the inevitable. We should also be generous and compassionate toward all living beings. Just as water nourishes plants and animals, we should try to make a positive impact on the world. Laozi also teaches us about the power of stillness. He says that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, but that step cannot be taken unless we first have stillness within. To quote Laozi, "By letting it go, it all gets done. The world is won by those who let it go. But when you try and try, the world is beyond the winning." This is a profound truth that we can apply to every aspect of our lives. In order to take action, we need moments of stillness and relaxation. Otherwise, we'll burn out and exhaust ourselves. The same is true of our relationships. If we're constantly trying to manipulate or control the people around us, we'll drive them away. But if we can cultivate a sense of inner stillness, we'll be able to connect with others on a deeper level. So how do we put these lessons into practice? Well, for starters, we can make a conscious effort to slow down and appreciate the present moment. We can take time to connect with nature and with the people we love. We can also practice mindfulness and meditation to cultivate a sense of inner stillness. By doing these things, we open ourselves up to the wisdom of the Tao, and we learn how to flow with the natural order of reality. But you may be thinking, what does all this have to do with me? Why should I care about the Tao? Laozi himself grappled with this question. At one point in the Tao Te Ching, he says, "The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao." In other words, the Tao is beyond human language and understanding. Any attempt to describe it inevitably falls short. So why bother even trying? Laozi's answer is that while we can never fully grasp the Tao, we can still benefit from trying. The very process of searching for the Tao can lead us to greater wisdom and understanding. In fact, Laozi says that those who seek the Tao diligently will find it, even if they can never truly know it. And the same is true of our search for meaning and purpose in life. We may never have all the answers, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't keep searching. The journey itself is transformative and leads us to greater wisdom and understanding. Ultimately, the Tao isn't just some abstract metaphysical concept. It's the very source of our being. It's the ground of all life and reality. When we connect with the Tao, we experience a deep sense of peace, contentment, and joy. But in our modern world, we've lost touch with the Tao. We've become disconnected from nature and from each other. We've replaced the wisdom of the ancients with the noise of technology. And as a result, we suffer from anxiety, burnout, and a sense of meaninglessness. The good news is that we can reconnect with the Tao. It's not easy, but the rewards are immeasurable. When we learn to flow with the natural order of reality, we experience a deep sense of peace, contentment, and joy. The Tao is not something you follow with your feet. It's something you follow with your heart.